Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, the show, the live stream, everything, all here at once. I'm your lovely host, Steven, looking into the camera because somebody was upset with me for not doing that in a video a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
The podcast?
Yeah, the thing is, the monitor is right above the lens.
What? Well, it is.
It's closer now that you've moved it down.
Yeah.
So tell me this, everybody out there, how much does it look like I'm talking into the camera right now? Is it unsettling, like watching somebody give a political speech on a teleprompter that's kind of close to you but not exactly in the camera? Or is it acceptable and you find it comforting, like a warm blanket? This is Zach.
Hi.
Welcome, Zach. Zach is our CEO. I'm the Chief Experience. Jonathan back there, Chief Creative.
You know, if your title was Chief Experience Officer, you would also be CEO.
Wow. No, they do CXO now, you know.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's like the .io of the executive
CX,
culture.
et cetera.
Here's what we're talking about today. First of all, can I just say, aren't those thumbnails kicking?
They really
Yeah,
are.
shout out to Jonathan.
Just like,
Shout out Jonathan. And the titles, and this is, we just decided we're just going to do it. We're just going for it a little bit, as you said.
Can you give us a little, what do you mean going for it?
We're ultimately the kind of people that want you to come over and we want to serve you a cocktail or a nice drink, a coffee or something. We want to sit with you in a chair with a fireplace going in between us. And we want to have a 6-hour conversation about something that can go all sorts of wild places. And that is a very human interaction. But the internet hates that. It hates anything about humanity or things that take a long time or nuance or gray spaces or any of that stuff. And so apparently the point of the internet is to hook you instantly into something that you want to click on.
Well, and specifically for about 60 seconds, extreme title, quick content, swipe to the next thing.
Yeah.
Lots of action and noise.
Ah!
And you can't look away and surprise it. And you stick around till the end to find out my secret on how to wash your car.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
So
Yeah, for free.
our hope is we can convince you, we play the game well, because we can play the game well, right? We can bring the tier A deck, the S tier deck. We can bring that if we want to. So we're going to bring the S tier deck up front, and then you're going to click on it and be like, oh, I want to be dopamine. And then we're going to slow it down, and you're going to be like, either I'm into this or I'm not. And so hopefully you're still listening after clicking on the End of Crowdfunding.
If you are into it, hopefully you have smashed that like button and subscribed.
Thank you, Zach.
Because we've been getting people saying, at least when I say people was saying they wanted us to do a subscriber count. But we did. We actually are at 50. We've been stuck around 57 for a while.
57.3, everybody. It's growing.
But it went from 57.2 to 57.3.
That's right.
And little spoiler, we've been cooking up a gameplay series where we're doing produced gameplay videos instead of live streaming them.
Whoa.
And when we hit 100,000 YouTube subscribers in that far distant future, we had this box of Boy Crazy back here. And if you've never heard of Boy Crazy, look it up. It's crazy.
I think we'll play it straight.
And we'll play it on a gameplay video in that series after we hit 100,000.
Be the last video we do.
Maybe. It might get canceled.
Yeah, whether we want to or not. But this is not a bait and switch because we are talking about the end of crowdfunding. And I want to give a little brief summary on what we mean by the end of crowdfunding. This is a great topic that Zach brought up.
Side note on titles and whatnot. So clickbait would be getting you to click it with something extreme image, extreme title.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is that we actually want to deliver on the title and topic.
That's right.
In like a genuine way and not in like an extreme. So the internet wants it short form and like extreme. So the crazier your take, like you went on your rant about tutoring in sorcery a couple weeks ago. If you could do that in 60 seconds, that is like social media gold.
Yeah.
Like why tutoring should never exist in card games, and then just like slam it.
Yeah,
like
slam it.
Like be really rude and mean about the publisher and how stupid they are for designing it this way. And
the stupidest card game mechanics.
Anyways, keep going.
Back to me.
Yeah.
So here's what we mean by the end of crowdfunding. This is a pretty fascinating topic. So we'll talk a little bit about Earthborne today. They've got a board game that they just announced the preview for on Kickstarter, right? Not GameFound.
It is Kickstarter, yeah.
And one of the things that brought up to us was just the reality that crowdfunding has really changed so much since the early days of what it used to be, what Kickstarter was in the early days of board games. There's a lot of people listening to us that haven't even been alive since we've been following crowdfunding. Probably, right? What would that be, a 15-year-old?
So it started around
Do they listen
09. So
You're on the
they
internet,
would be 17.
Yeah, so a 17-year-old, you might be, driving in your Mustang.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like I was 18 when Covenant started.
Yeah.
So if someone out there today was that age, they would have existed as a baby for a year before Kickstarter began.
There you go.
So like, they've never known a world where there's not this entity.
Where crowdfunding is just,
It's sort of like YouTube, right? I have nieces and nephews. Like YouTube has been a thing and big since they started.
Yeah.
So when I say like, well, we started posting videos on YouTube, limit was like 3 minutes of video, and like no one knew about it, and it was just very little. Their mind is blown. They're like, how old are you? Yeah.
So the summary here, I guess the abstract is crowdfunding used to be a lot different, and the perception of crowdfunded products used to be a lot different. And we've seen, I think all of us industry-wide have seen these platforms move from a rather genuine way for a bootstrapping young creator to maybe get their idea funded and then maybe deliver on it, to a very high glorified marketing platform, early pre-order platform that you don't have to build and do your own website. And so publishers are now very much harnessing the marketing power and the direct sales power of Kickstarter and GameFound, rather than the idea that I need to like build up 20,000 in capital so I can make my dreams come true. And I think that has been a fairly slow transition, I guess quick in this scope of history, but fairly slow transition over the years. And I think we kind of want to tussle with what does that mean? And it's basically the end of crowdfunding as we have traditionally known it, and the beginning of what is really a new understanding of how these platforms function within our industry and maybe within other industries as well. Because I even crowdfunded some pants the other day.
Wow.
But that's beside the point, I would imagine.
Maybe.
Anyway, let's spin up the news, man.
All right, over to the news. Starting in no particular order. A short news day, actually. So,
Contel Martins, I always perceive Zach as someone who would provide bodybuilding advice when he wears that shirt.
Yeah, you gotta bulk up. Oh, yeah, definitely expert in bodybuilding. Not true at all. But over to the news. First thing I want to mention is last week we launched the preview bundle. What was it? Is that the official name? Bundle?
Preview Pack 2026.
There it is. Preview Pack 2026.
I'm the experience man.
And it included preview decks for Warlord, Alpha Clash, and Gudnak. And
how many are out there, Zach? How many did we sell?
Has been amazing. I will say we've sold 90% of what we listed, and we're almost sold out. And it's closer. Well, I won't even do any of that. Anyways, I'll just show that again. So if you're interested and you want it, now is the time.
It's $0. You pay shipping.
This is Gudnak deck. Looks great. This is the Alpha Clash deck. Also looks great. I made Jonathan nervous because I'm showing things to the camera.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
and these are the Warlord preview decks.
Booka.
And I'll leave that as a surprise when you actually get it. In a nice box. And it's great. But seeing the comments come through on Discord of people actually getting that has been awesome. And experiencing these new games. Because there's 3 incredible games that are worth trying. So that's the main thing going on for those games.
And every one that you buy, we lose money on. So it's a great way to tank our success.
Yeah, but we know the truth.
We think it's long form.
These games are phenomenal. And when you get them in your hands, we know what's going to happen next.
You're buying that Gudnak core set, and then you're buying the expansions, and then 3 years later you wake up and you're like, what happened? And we're like, we have all your money.
Well, maybe not that far. But
no,
hopefully 3 years later you wake up and you're coming to an event at Covenant Tulsa.
That's exactly what I meant.
That's the dream. The dream stream.
That's
right
what
there.
I meant. Keep
the
your money.
other piece of news going on right now is all related to Earthborne games.
What about, do you have Sorcery news section there?
I don't.
Okay, well, I've got something because I announced it the other day. Arthurian Legends and Beta are available for retail accounts on Fulfilled. Fulfilled.teamcovenant.com. Zach, just a quick brief update. What is that service for those who are listening and maybe have never heard of it?
I will say there is a Covenant news section. So this is an interesting one because it could fall in either bucket.
Could be either. I think it's Sorcery News.
On one or the other. What is Fulfilled? You're asking me. Oh,
I could cover it if you'd like.
No, I can. Let me. You
can go to the website and read all the great copy that was written.
Here. Well, so
there's a link in the description of the video. Oh, great.
Okay, great. Well,
click on that.
You can click on that link and find out. But no, so my natural instinct, I've discovered this about myself. When I'm talking about something, I'm very mindful of like the overarching timeline, and I don't share important details first. I have a tendency to go back to the beginning.
So like
you're
married.
When you ask the Zing. When you asked that question, I went back to a decade ago when we were trying to support a bunch of indie games, a lot of LCGs as an example.
Living card games, yes.
And
Hot topic.
Because we didn't sell Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, the volume of business we were doing with distribution was low compared to anyone selling those games and probably making any amount of money. But what that would lead to is we always got unfavorably allocated from distributors anytime products got successful. And our whole goal as an entity was to try to make the games that we love more successful. So you spend a lot of time, energy, and resources helping them be successful. And the more successful you make them, the less product you get to sell. Because game is successful, everyone wants it, distribution does allocation, you end up with less.
Can I give a really good example that I think will go with people? So let's say retailer A is buying 20 Magic boxes every release and then 5 Netrunner packs. And let's say retailer B is buying 500 Netrunner packs. Well, whenever a Netrunner release happens and it gets allocated, retailer A is much more likely to get not only 20 Netrunner packs, but as many Netrunner packs as they want because their average spend with their distributor is so much higher. Whereas the people who are dedicated to Netrunner and moving 500 Netrunner packs are always getting allocated because they don't have the total spend of the Magic store. So it's not about what games you're supporting. It's just about how much money you're giving them. And so we ran into that a lot where it's like we're not giving the distributors a lot of money, but we're putting out content and doing a lot of marketing because we love the LCG format games. But then we get allocated because they are getting more successful. And it's like, well, this doesn't work.
Yeah. So we went on a journey to solve that problem, which was we started working directly with the publishers that we support and not having to go through distribution. And you solve that for yourself. But then you get to the next layer where it's like, well, we did solve it for ourselves. However, we didn't solve it for everybody else. And so Fulfilled is essentially our answer to that, which is for the publishers we work with, if they want a way to work directly with the retailers or any wholesale account, doesn't have to necessarily be a retailer. It could be a coffee shop, could be a local community organizer. This platform is for that. So it is the ability for a publisher to be in control of who has access to their product, how much they have access to, how much they pay, how often they get to buy it, all those kind of terms. Because right now, and I did an episode last year with the podcast with Garrett from Alpha Clash, and that illustrates a lot of the problems as an indie publisher they were having, which is there's kind of this curtain between them and the retailers who are buying their products. And for an expandable game especially, those local communities can be really critical. But they literally have no idea who is buying their product, how much they're buying. They have no way to send promo materials to them. Unless the distributor is willing to do it, which they often aren't for smaller games, they have no way to get prize support to those stores. Whereas this is a system that can handle all of that. And we're trying to step out of the way, right? of between that relationship. And for stores that want to have a relationship with a publisher, this is an incredible tool to have that relationship. And it's a tool that lets publishers incentivize the behaviors that they value and want beyond just, and it makes sense, when you get allocated enough by distribution, you eventually get angry. But actually looking back, both allocation from, it makes sense. You have retailers, you are incentivizing, they buy more from you because you want to make money. And the ones that buy the most from you, you reward.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That actually makes sense. But for us, the incentive has never been about volume or profit or any of that stuff. So you're just kind of playing a very different game where if what you value is volume, technically, a publisher could reward that in a certain kind of way. But most of the time, what you're actually valuing and why you're giving retailers a huge discount to be able to sell this product at all is that they will obviously stock it, put it on a shelf. People will see it that wouldn't have seen it. They'll build community around it. They'll host events. They'll maintain a space. They'll have staff to run events. They'll all that kind of stuff. And so you can connect those dots with this sort of tool.
Yeah, and here's the bare bones of how this actually works. So Sorcery, again, added beta Arthurian Legends and also already had Gothic on the system. So all of those releases are on Fulfilled, available to retailers. So if you're a retail store or if you know a retail store owner that wants to stock Sorcery, they come in, they go to fulfilled.teamcovenant.com, they apply. That application goes directly to the Sorcery team. So Eris Curiosa looks at that application. They digitally approve it. You get a notice that your application has been approved. And when they approve it, they tell you how many of each thing that you're approved to sell can you buy every month. So then they set those limits, and that means that they have full control over how many boxes go to this store, how many boxes go to that store, how many boxes to that store. And what you're preventing is a mass flood of product. 10,000 boxes go to one store, and then they dump them all online on TCG Player for a minimum price so that they can make $2 to $3 a box, tank the product, kill all the other retailers, and move on to the next game. So that's how that works. And then they can always go in and set discounts. They can set volume limits. They can change anything and everything. And that communication is directly between any given retailer and Eris Curiosa. So they basically facilitate that, talk about that. Hey, man, I'm running 20-person, 30-person, 40-person events. We could really use more product. Sorcery team might say, okay, cool. We're going to up you to 2 cases, 3 cases, 4 cases every month, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's that. So we did add that to fulfill. That's a big deal for the Sorcerer community at large, and I'm excited to see how that goes. Been a lot of good reception of that so far.
A couple other Covenant-related notes before we'll come back to the Earthborne campaign.
Okay. Sorry, Andrew.
And then
we'll get there
because it segues beautifully into the actual topic. So other things, we have been filming test gameplay videos for a format that we're working on. That'll be showing up sooner than later.
Do you want to give the name of the show? Jonathan, how do you feel about that? Jonathan's into it. It's called Table Time.
Uh-oh. I didn't buy the domain yet. I'm just
Tabletime.com.
It doesn't exist.
Really? Does it not?
Let me just look.
Can you buy it?
We're doing it live. Hey, no one out there. Be cool.
Yeah, you went to GoDaddy, so you're... Oh, no, wait. You went to GoDaddy. Is it really still GoDaddy? It didn't get any better than that?
It's the first thing I thought of. No, it's not available. I did look. I feel like I remember looking when we were looking at names.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't matter. TeamCovenant.com.
It doesn't matter. YouTube's where the videos are.
So we're working on that. We also have been growing the team.
Yes.
So one thing that's important to note, the Filament team has had a handful of people join recently, but also kind of like the title thing, bringing on a digital marketing specialist.
Yeah.
So you might start seeing us show up in interesting ways online, especially like social media, the kind of content we're creating there.
I'm going to TikTok.
It's an experimental phase. I don't know about that. There's a weird thing I saw the other day on TikTok. They have this remix feature, and they default sign everyone up for it.
Cool.
They recently launched it. But what you could do is someone who's posted like 1,000 TikToks. You go on, let's say you've done 1,000 TikToks, and you could say, anybody, I want a 60-second video of this guy saying this. And it remixes based on all your data that's sitting there, all those videos. It creates an AI video of you doing that thing.
That doesn't seem problematic at all.
And then the only way to go back and like disable it is video by video. You have to like turn it off.
Well, that's the only questionable thing I've ever heard about TikTok.
But
so I'm sure it's
TikTok,
fine.
From the moment I remember I saw TikTok for the first time.
We can maybe be Luddites about that one.
Someone was
you listen and
bringing it up, and I essentially did some research and was like, well, this is day one, people are like privacy issues. Their terms of service is crazy. What they're actually telling you they're going to do, straight up.
Yeah,
and it's free, so like you're the product here,
right?
And this is not surprising whatsoever. But I
is it worse than the other ones? I don't know.
Definitely.
I can at least see the dead, lifeless eyes of Mark Zuckerberg every 5 minutes or so, and
in like several layers. Not only this is just my hot take. We might be on TikTok next week. We'll see what happens. But I think the privacy stuff is strictly worse. But then also the form factor, like the only thing you're doing as a platform is short form, view-based, dopamine extreme.
That's almost
stuff.
all that everybody's doing, though.
That's not. You look at like.
I mean, you could do other stuff, but it's not as popular.
I mean, is the creator the problem, or are the creators using the service problem, or the users? People
is it
want
the
what
slot
they want,
machine, or is it the smoker? Yeah,
anyways,
you never know.
So you're on the team.
Problem.
We also really cool. Yesterday we celebrated 5-year anniversaries for Larry, our tech director, and Evan.
Yeah.
I don't even know what his title is anymore. Experience manager.
He's a manager, but has 0 employees.
He's doing the customer
He's managing
service,
himself,
and he's doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
Even the packaging project on this preview deck thing,
He
was
crushed
a huge,
that.
huge effort led by him.
But
Two great people that joined the team in the middle of the pandemic, which is crazy to think
He
about.
will eventually be leading the team that runs our local store here in Tulsa. So we're kind of starting to staff up for that effort.
Yeah. And then
all because of you guys. Seriously. Oh my gosh. It's amazing to be here.
It is really
I'm
amazing.
almost 20 years in. So next year I will have spent as much of my life working at Covenant as not.
Fun fact. January.
I'll be dead on 40, 20 years Covenant, 20 years no Covenant. And 18 of that was just in school.
Yeah.
So it's been a lifelong
Basically,
pursuit at that
your
point.
whole adult
Yeah.
life. Yeah. What's the status of DDP?
Landed costs.
Yeah.
We call it a
Yeah.
different thing every time.
What is it?
So
That's soon. Keep hearing
well,
about
no,
it.
Larry's been reviewing the code for about eight
I know.
weeks.
What's he even doing over there?
To be honest, it's 5-year anniversary, but like if he could have done less lunch yesterday and more review of the code, I would have been happier about it.
Bingo. Bongo.
But anyway, our developer Nick has built the thing, and the code is in the review status, and so Larry is in the process of reviewing it. And landed costs are very difficult because what this is basically saying for any international shipment that's going out via UPS, we're able to provide the person purchasing that internationally the total cost of the customs that they are responsible for to get that package imported into their country. And we're able to show that at checkout, and we're able to collect that money at checkout. And then we're able to pay the customs for them as it enters into their country. What that means ultimately is that you go through checkout, you click the buy button, and all the costs that are listed there, you can decide yes or no. Click buy. Once you've bought it, it goes right to you. You don't have to worry about your customs, random stuff getting caught at the border, all those kinds of things. But obviously that can be very complex when we're talking about order modifications, we're talking about order cancellations that now need to refund your landed costs. If you change from UPS to USPS in the middle of an order that hasn't shipped yet, we now need to subtract. So there's a lot of code review to do. I give Larry all sorts of trouble for both good reasons and humorous reasons. But yes, I'm assuming a couple of weeks away on that. And then all our international customers would ideally be choosing UPS as their preferred shipper. Some places still USPS is just going to be far and away better. I think Canadians in particular have a lot better luck shipping USPS and importing with a different service than going all UPS the whole way. But that's a choice you can make. And then if you are doing UPS, then you will be able to see the total customs, shipping, taxes, all of that in one fell swoop. Click the button and not worry about it again. And it's likely to lose us, who knows, a lot of business, Zach. Because right now it's like, ooh, tasty price. And then you click it and then it's an extra $600 at the border. And you're like,
It seems like we make a lot of those choices.
I know.
Must be big brain geniuses.
I'm waiting. Dude, don't wait. The long game is going to be so good.
Get them. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the final bit of news, which links to the topic, which is related to Earthborne Games. So 2 things have gone on with them related to crowdfunding. First, they launched the Hub World Pledge Manager, so you back a campaign.
Yeah.
You need to go finalize your stuff.
That game
also,
looks so
if
good.
you want to late pledge it and pledge it now, you still can. And then after that is over, we will have pre-orders up for you to go, and that'll be a little closer once we get a couple months down the road. And then at some point, that game will come out, and I can't wait.
I'm extremely excited about Hub World.
Yeah.
In fact, it's one of those things where we've had these LCG conversations, and it's like, I don't know, does this model make sense, and how can you frame it one way or the other? I think something that we've maybe missed at the bottom of all of this is that none of that matters if the game is so good that it doesn't matter.
I think we said that.
Did we say that?
I'm pretty sure, basically, that was the Netrunner case, where it's like, if the game is just so unbelievable, you can basically make up for anything else to a degree.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times, incredible games don't succeed. And there's a lot of variables to it. Netrunner hit at a certain time, and ABC, Richard Garfield's name tied to it.
Yeah.
FFG was doing it. They had etc. But at the same time, it does happen.
You just got to see the cards.
Sometimes, who said the quote?
You see it out there?
What do you say? No, it's like the quote goes something like, "Be so good they can't ignore you."
Yeah.
That case can be made here.
That seems to be the Earthborne case,
which
honestly.
is, I think it was a comedian that said it. But yeah, if it's good enough, you have to have a certain amount of awareness that gets created and marketing going on, or reach. But if it's good enough, it's almost like it's bound to go.
Yeah, it reaches itself.
So the thing that happened is today, and this is interesting in general, but also for us, and this is what led to this whole crowdfunding conversation.
I love that.
I know. Earthborne Games announced Earthborne Trailblazer, and it says, coming soon to Kickstarter May 26, 2026. There is a Kickstarter page. You can sign up to be notified. Let me refresh this page to see how many people are on it. So 486 people currently.
You click that button?
Up.
I need to go follow it too. Yeah. I need to follow that bad boy.
And here's what we know so far. It's on Kickstarter. It says, based on the mechanics and themes of the critically acclaimed Earthborne Rangers, Earthborne Trailblazer is a new standalone board game that invites you to explore the wilderness of the far future in an entirely new way. Follow to be notified when the campaign launches on Tuesday, May 26th. And in the little description, it says, explore the wilderness of the far future in the cooperative adventure board game for 1 to 5 players.
That's the right number.
And then they have this little teaser image, which is Earthborne, but This reminds me of Studio Ghibli.
Dude, they've got this crazy mashup. I need to show you Galaxy Express. Also, Jonathan, did you know it's people say Galaxy Express 39, not 999. Could be a Japanese translation thing.
3 nines?
Yeah. So it's 999, but it's Galaxy Express 39 is the way the cool kids say it. I think. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's cool anymore.
Did you get Andrew to watch it?
No, not yet. Well, I said watch it, but I would never. I don't know if he watched it. He probably didn't watch it. Maybe we'll watch it this next week.
Okay.
But it's a mixture of Studio Ghibli meets Galaxy Express 39 plus Navarro, Simonette art direction, like this beautiful smash up of concepts.
Where could one find Galaxy Express 39?
If you search the internet, you can find it. The movie you can watch for free, which you should.
On the internet.
And then I'm sure it's like probably Crunchyroll or something that there's an episodic, long-running TV series, early anime, like late 70s, early 80s, I think. It's like that vibe, around Akira vibe, like that moment where it was just like so fresh and crazy, and animators were just trying to.
Zach, you'll love it because before the rules were written.
It's animators trying to find the limits of what we could possibly do with this technology, and so they do things that we probably couldn't even conceive of doing now. Like,
interesting.
Like there was that one thing you showed me. What was that?
Backlight, back glow, or whatever.
Dude.
Oh yeah, and the Tron thing.
They're doing all sorts of stuff that's wild.
This is sort of related. I don't know if I told you this or not, but I recently, for the first time, watched Iron Giant.
What'd you think?
It was great.
Yeah,
it was. Anyways, it seems like earlier animation styles and stuff. Okay, so the reason. One, I'm excited about this project generally. And
it's gonna be
go Earthborne.
Of course, like this is probably gonna be their biggest, but bigger than Rangers.
Part of where this conversation comes from for me, and there's a lot of layers to this, is so this is a game by Earthborne Games. We will be supporting it in the grandest sense of the way. It'll be next week. We have the Earthborne team, part of the Earthborne team coming in. We're filming a lot of content. We're producing things for this campaign, which you will see down the line, and there's a couple things that are really fascinating about that to me, that reality. The first one is this is a board game. And historically, we've had phases where we have board games or don't really support board games. Some examples is when we opened for early on at 1.0, our first local space, we had a board game wall and we had a board game day. I used to work Sundays, which is the board game day.
And we had Settlers of Catan tournaments.
We did. Yeah. And they were very successful for us back then. But then, like officially supporting in the late 2010s, we dipped our toe into like Wingspan.
We had a subscription for Wingspan. That was pretty successful.
Power Rangers.
Here's the Grid. Yeah.
Which also gets us into a weird crowdfunding piece. We'll get to that part of the story at some point. But the thing that occurred to me is crowdfunding started in 2009. So Covenant started in 2007. We're older than crowdfunding. But I remember early days of crowdfunding, especially when we opened 1.0 in 2012. In that board game day, like the perception of crowdfunding and the way people talked about crowdfunding,
the back alley,
and I want to walk through that evolution over time. But I remember there was a long time where we did not touch crowdfunding as a company. Like we didn't support campaigns, we didn't support publishers in that phase, etc. And there are a lot of good reasons for that, but it wasn't until to kind of walk it through, right? We opened in 2012 locally. At the time, to me, this is my subjective take. Crowdfunding very much was a platform for people taking their moonshot, which is like, I have an idea. I need 200 grand to do this thing.
I have no experience.
and I'm going to make this game. And you would literally, I mean, it still to this day carries through on Kickstarter, I think. That is, they take no onus for someone actually delivering the project that you back on this thing. And it's framed more like you are making a donation to make something happen. And if they do it, this is what they're saying they're going to do for you. But don't come to us if they don't.
Yeah.
Because like you're taking a gamble. Like this is someone's dream and you're helping them make the thing. And so, back then, like in 2013, as an example, and part of what brought this up is recently Fantasy Flight Games, which is a publisher we've supported for a very long time, has started dipping their toes into crowdfunding. They have their whole vault thing, which is like out of print old games we'll do crowdfunding for to make sure there's interest before we hit print on a run. They also, I think it was a zombie side expansion or something coming from Asmodee. I don't even know if it's FFG proper, etc. Which is crazy to think about because In 2013, FFG doing a crowdfunding campaign would have been maybe the only thing worse they could have done than printing a TCG. Like from a brand PR perspective,
that would have been like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. It would have been like
y'all are a real publisher. Like, you don't need us.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So now we have FFG owned by Asmodee, which is a multi-billion-dollar company, like one of the most successful companies in the whole space, giant, using crowdfunding. And with the Vault stuff, seemingly they're using crowdfunding essentially just to do pre-orders for dead games.
That's
and
what they're
market
doing.
them.
Yeah.
And not take risk. It's like, we'll reprint this if we know people are going to buy it and you give us the money up front. And so somewhere along the way, an evolution has definitely happened in crowdfunding, where it went from a moonshot platform for dreamers who have a vision, you know, to seemingly like a really well-tuned pre-order platform / marketing engine for publishers to sell directly to people, and any publisher, big or little. And that has a lot of, that transition has a lot of impacts, because I think about someone like Earthborne, indie studio, small studio, right? I know, well, behind the scenes, and actually next week, we're planning to have Andrew Navarro on the cast with you.
That's right. I'll talk to Andrew.
And so I know that actually, if this campaign doesn't fund, this project doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
As compared to, I'm assuming, the next expansion of Zombicide or whatever is going to happen, right?
Like, might be in production already.
Yeah.
Might,
And it's like a scale thing, like how much you're going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So there are people using it both ways, but it is, I think expectations are really fascinating when it comes to that, all the way through, like including communication levels or how the timelines on delivery, as an example, where if you have a game basically done and you're a big company with a big budget and you're crowdfunding it, I think you're pre-ordering it, campaign ends, you're hitting print at the factory within a month. It's going to show up after the races. But then holding a studio like Earthborne, or Earthborne from 5 years ago, which is maybe more interesting, like the expectations on them and their ability to communicate and their ability to hit timelines and their ability to deliver on certain things, or basically not run into 1,000 problems that they haven't run into yet, because there's a lot of learning that happens during the first 20 years of a company. At least from my experience, there is a lot of that kind of learning. But the shift, there's like the Kickstarter shift. There's also my mentality towards it, where our first game we actually supported during a crowdfunding campaign was Earthborne Rangers the first time, 2021.
That's right.
And we kind of like made the exception, right? That was the real split. Are you thinking through the history?
Thinking if there was an earlier one. Feels like there was something else that went through crowdfunding.
So there were games we had supported that had done crowdfunding, but we didn't get involved until after that.
Yeah.
Like Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid was one of those games.
Yeah.
But we didn't, Soul Forge did crowdfunding at some point, etc. But Earthborne, we literally were playing on the stream during the campaign, talking about it during the campaign, had a Discord channel, etc. So there's different phases of this, and now I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah, well, the two other things that comes to my mind are like the expectations, like you were talking about what a Kickstarter is going to be, and there's an entire culture on Kickstarter. You can tell from the comments and like the way that people talk. Like, there are people that are just Kickstarter people, and they expect things to run a certain way, and they're going to hold your feet to the fire for certain things, and they're going to be looking for certain things about the campaign. Do you have the right stretch goals? How long until this? We should be rewarded at this break point because this, that, and the other. Or like, you should be posting weekly updates, daily updates, et cetera, et cetera. There's definitely a certain brand of, I guess, crowdfunder, I might say, that's a persona that didn't exist even in recent history. And that carries with it, a shift in what it means to crowdfund a game. And then there's also like, what is the impact of having a bunch of, I know the impact, but what is the impact of having a bunch of big players enter a space that was intended for very small players? And how that eliminates or diminishes the ability for those smaller independent people to get through the noise and the kind of the overwhelming presence of the bigger players. And are we basically seeing like the Starbucks coffee shop thing happen again, right? And we see this in industries a lot, and we've often talked about indie publishing in this way, But are we now going to need to find? Is there going to be a new platform that is actually for indie small publishers, and they are different, and it utilizes the technology in different ways, and Kickstarter just becomes the big guys pre-ordering stuff, and then you have the smaller creators that are actually on their own thing? I think it's funny how the same cycle happens over and over and over again. It's like you have a platform, it's doing something. I mean, it's social media and stuff too, right? It's trying to do a very cool thing for people. It's solving an actual problem. There's success there. The success is seen. The eyeballs are there. The marketing value is seen. Therefore, the bigger players start moving in. They start utilizing it to their own advantage. And then kind of the smaller players get kicked out, or at least it becomes less valuable to them. And then all the money is going to the big players. So then the platforms start playing to what they need rather than what the small players need. And there you go. And it's the same old cycle.
Well, and another element of that cycle kind of relates to the distribution volume thing, which is, and I do want to bring up a more objective history of crowdfunding in a second. I searched for it earlier just to see, and it was really fascinating. Google's AI summary was interesting. A couple notes on that. Generally speaking, I'm an old guy, and I don't like AI. So
that looks like a rhyme.
Old guy, don't like AI.
Yeah, you can just imagine it's like a schoolhouse rap kind of thing.
But it is kind of funny because, like, and you had this the other day. You write an email, and the tool we have to send emails has every technology right now is trying to inject AI. Like, you just can't escape it if you're going to use technology.
Would you like to?
But one thing that's kind of useful, is interesting, is you wrote it, and then AI is kind of telling you, here's our summary of this email, which, as a tool, just to understand how would something without a brain actually
I don't know, man. What is a brain anyway?
Yeah,
neural connections,
or without human, anyways, all
what
that
is a human Zach?
It's an interesting breakdown, and as far as I am aware, it lines up with like actual what happened in timelines and stuff. But if you're out there listening to it, especially live, and anything's worth adding to this mix and whatnot in a second when I get there,
we're actually going to engage with the chat.
Then we're going to actually this time we're going to engage with the chat, because it's just kind of an interesting look at the evolution. But the related to the distro point is, early on, I remember there was a shift where companies started figuring out a couple things. One, when you're selling directly to a customer and you're not giving distributors a wholesale discount that also is giving retail a discount, $100 transaction is worth a lot more to you than if you go the other system. So you have more money. So you can put that money into doing crazy, crazy things. And sometimes Relic Nights is the name of that campaign.
Relic Nights.
I was trying to think of it so long earlier.
You got it. Relic. I'm going to write it down so you don't forget.
So you have these moments where, like, it's like an arms race. It's like a dollar menu going to the bottom, but it's the opposite, which is like, well, how much stuff can we give you for $150 or $500? Can we get you to spend $1,000 and give you 500 miniatures or whatever it is? And so, at some point you have stretch goals that get introduced, and then you have I'm going to set the funding goal at only 20,000. That way I can say funded in 2 minutes and 5 times funding goal immediately, even though if I don't get $2 million, we're going to end the company kind of vibe.
Just theoretically.
So you just have hypothetically, in like an altered universe or something, So all that to say, like,
we've already made the altered players mad. Zach.
Yeah, well, that's just I like to double down. If you're gonna go big. But there are these things where it's like, I have a friend who I will not name, Matt Phillips, who he had like 3 columns in his house of
Kingdom Death, Cthulhu Wars. Cthulhu Wars. One of it. They were all kind of the same in my mind.
Stacks of miniatures, and he's actually, like, to his credit, he paints like a fiend. So he has all these miniatures he's painting. Good on you, dog. However, it's like after 4 years of owning this, he's only played like this much of one stack, like a third of one of his 3 stacks. It's like, oh man, this is so more content than I could ever possibly think. So one of the things that's interesting about Earthborne and their campaign, I talked to Andrew about this on the last podcast episode I did with him, which I highly recommend if you're curious. Yeah. Essentially, Hub World to me was like a no FOMO campaign. Like, it is what it is. You can only buy so much stuff. There's no stretch goals, basically.
Yeah, don't stretch.
There's like, I don't think there's anything necessarily exclusive to the campaign. So, like, if you want to wait for our estimated delivery of Q1 2027 to spend any money, you can do that. But I love how genuine his approach is, because he's not the giant company trying to get the $5 million number just to be flashy and get the marketing from it and stuff. In this case, as far as I know, and you can ask him next week, like, again, if enough people don't back this thing, it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's
real, yeah.
It's very pure.
Actually,
it's very, very.
I know
pure.
my costs, like I know my factory.
But you kind of have an arms race, and it's like, to their credit, I think about Too Many Bones from Chip Theory Games, and everyone I hear talk about that is like, this game is crazy. Like every component is super nice. Box is like 800 pounds because it's so, but it's not like 10 boxes or like stacks of products, right? But it's like they're packing so much value into this box. They built a whole business on crowdfunding, etc. Small company.
High-end components.
Thing. Yep.
Chips.
So it's a theory, some would say.
Yeah, it's the chips though. They do like chips.
So anywho, I'm gonna if you're good with it, I want to go ahead and read kind of a breakdown.
Let me give a quick disclaimer because I caught up with some chat in the industry discussion, which was relevant.
Okay,
but
great.
I think it's worth saying just about this production in general, the live stream, the podcast, etc., that we're not presenting this as like we've done like 20 hours of research on each of these topics that we're bringing up, and we're the experts on all of the things that are out there in the world and all the different board games and all the different ways that publishers are doing this or that. We have a pretty specific focus and a pretty narrow field of view that is very deep, but it's not particularly wide. So when we talk about these kinds of things, we're literally just sitting down and having a conversation, and it's not meant to be seen as like this is the answer, this is the truth of the matter, the only truth of the matter. So we will get stuff wrong, we will miss things, we'll be missing key information that we otherwise would have had if we'd have been focusing on a different part of the industry 5 years ago. So chat, you can be helpful in helping us there, but also just like kind of set expectations. Like we're really, Zach and I just think about a topic and then look around a little bit maybe, and then we sit down and we talk about it because we're friends and we like doing that, and we're also business partners. But we're not trying to be we are the answer for all of these questions.
Yeah, I also think it's important context. So we did probably the first 75 episodes of the Covenant Cast where we would choose a topic, we would talk about it before we recorded.
Oh, yeah.
To make sure we knew what we wanted to say about this topic. And after we did that 70 times or whatever, we realized the way more interesting conversation was the conversation we had before we did the podcast.
Yeah.
Where we're kind of working out and looking things up and doing the research. So to a degree, this is part of why it's live, is like this is a live conversation. And the intent is this is an ongoing conversation. So if we do get something wrong or you have a different take, add it to the comments. We're reading those. Come to our Discord channel, industry discussion. We're reading that. And it's an evolving, ongoing thing. And we are historically very focused as people on the games we love, right? And that is what we're like really paying attention to. And so not that we're not completely unfamiliar with things going on in the industry, but by no means exhaustive experts on, or even trying to present like this is the take. Yeah. As much as just two people talking about it.
And we've got a lot of experience. It's just like I said, it's deep experience. It's on the LCG, non-Magic, non-Yu-Gi-Oh, non-board game, non-miniature side of the industry. So
yeah,
we've dabbled in a lot of things, but that's really where our expertise lies. And I want to Van asking, have we used any AI tools to predict sales? We haven't. No, I don't know. We haven't. We haven't used them for much of anything except for this Google overview.
We're not using any tools to predict anything almost at all.
Not even the human brain.
Yeah. I mean, even that, though, like, it goes back to, we did an episode called Data Driven Death a long time ago.
Yeah.
And metrics are, I definitely understand them, and I have a back and forth relationship over time.
Smart
with
goals,
it.
Zach.
But it's like,
they got to be smart.
At the end of the day, and we're fortunate enough that this actually somehow works currently for us, but we just choose what we want to do, and we do it. And then the outcomes essentially become the outcomes. Instead of like, I don't know, math.
It's a lot of feeling.
Yeah.
That goes out to you, Mr. Navarro.
Yeah, he's going to love it. Okay, so this is, as much as I hate it, the AI overview from Google. Now tell us where it's wrong. Or you have context is worth adding. AI says, board game crowdfunding, dominated by Kickstarter since 2009, revolutionized the industry by allowing designers to bypass traditional publishers and directly fund projects.
All right, hold on. Okay, let's piece this out a little bit. Yeah. So 2009, designers of board games used to have to find a publisher, pitch the idea to the publisher.
Yep.
Publisher says, okay, we'll either contract out your idea or we'll hire you on to basically be a part of our staff as a game designer. And then you go through the publisher to get the game made. The publisher takes their cut. All the distribution channels take their cut. You, designer, get paid either X percentage of sales or maybe an advance plus percentage of sales or maybe a flat rate. And then the game does its thing, and then the publisher can publish it for the rest of time. Typically, I think they carried the rights to do that whenever you sold your design to them.
Yeah.
A
lot of times you'll get a royalty, basically.
Yeah.
It's almost like an author
Yeah.
signing with a book publisher kind of a thing. That still happens to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is especially in the board game industry. A lot of times someone will design a board game, pitch it to a publisher will agree to actually do the game, and the rest happens. So
now, suddenly in 2009, if I'm a game designer and I've got an idea for a game and I think I can handle manufacturing and all of these kinds of things, I can get all of the money. If I can also generate awareness and marketing for this thing, I can get all the money for my design.
Yep.
Kickstarter is usually 10 to 12%, I think.
It's like around 10%.
So let's just say 10% easy.
GameFound. Yeah.
I lose 10% to Kickstarter. I keep 90%. I get all my production, manufacturing, design costs out of that, and I hopefully walk away with a big pile of cash.
Yep. And that is obviously very different than, say, Asmodee/FFG using a platform to do a game, right? Like that's
kind of the same benefit, except no risk.
Well, if it's primarily individuals with a game to make versus even just regardless of scale of company, a publisher doing the thing, which eventually publishers get in there. So, okay, early successes like Alien Frontiers in 2010 paved the way for massive hits like Exploding Kittens and Frosthaven, turning the platform into a multi-million-dollar community-driven marketplace for high-quality, component-heavy games, according to the AI.
But why component-heavy? Exploding Kittens is not component-heavy, so off with your head, AI. But it was a lot of component-heavy stuff, and was this really just like stretch goals? Basically, do you think these guys were doing the math of like, it cost me $1 to produce 5 miniatures. People are willing to pay $10 to get these 5 miniatures as a stretch goal. I could do that indefinitely, and as I do that more and more, my economy of scale goes up, so the cost to produce miniatures goes down.
Yep.
Which means, oh my gosh, if I spike the ball and get $600 per person to get 1,000 miniatures, it actually only cost me $16 to make all those miniatures.
Yeah. Well, maybe another way to think about
it
is like Twilight Imperium came out in the 90s.
Christian T. Peterson.
And it was like I think at the time, $70, $80 board game, which is unheard of.
Yeah, I thought it was started at $120.
Back then?
Yeah. Those are like $90s dollars. That's like $1 million.
Yeah, that's like infinite. You buy a house for that
that's
money.
Before the .com bubble, man.
Yeah. But however much it was more expensive than a normal board game. Let's say it's, for easy math, $100. If at the same time you go to crowdfunding, I think the reason it ends up being component heavy / miniature heavy or whatever is if you're competing with someone buying Twilight Imperium from a retailer for $100 or backing your campaign and taking the risk of backing your campaign, one way to make that appealing is more stuff, right? It's like, well, yeah, it's $100 like Twilight Imperium, but you get 5 times the miniatures in your thing, and you get 3 expansions included.
Dude, this is Contel Martin's making a good point. Component heavy looks good, that's all. So I can't visually show you how well designed the game is and how much fun you're going to have playing it. So when you're just looking at a page saying, do I want to spend $600 or not? 16 incredibly crazy looking miniatures that you want to actually own is a lot more compelling than like, it's designed by these designers who did a good job.
Yeah. Well, and I think Earthborne Rangers runs into this on the the value per card math thing, right? Where it's like Earthborne Rangers has a massive campaign that is a completely open world tree of story that you can play. Wild. But like that is not a very sexy thing to show.
It's a map and some cards.
It's like, here's a book, like a rule book. It looks like a rule book. And it's like, well, why? And it's sustainably manufactured. Okay, there's no plastic. Like, how much am I willing to pay for that? Anyways, more on that
perceived value. It's a perceived value thing. And Experiments in Insanity saying, I think, a very relevant thing. NPI just did a great video on the actual cost of miniatures. Minis are comparatively cheap to produce once you're at scale and are lighter than cardboard, which makes them easier to ship, but they carry a lot more perceived value.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
So I guess that makes sense why these games came out.
I remember early on in that 2010s era that was the thing. People would show you their phone and be like, look at this miniature that you get with this thing, right? And insert theme here. It's like, or look at all these things that you get. And they get their thing and they show up and they've got all this stuff. And it's like, look how cool this is.
Yeah.
So, okay. Then they have it broken down into kind of eras. So 2009 to 2010 says the early days. Kickstarter launches in 2009 with early, humble projects like Launch Right. Alien Frontiers in 2010 is often cited as the first major success story.
Nice.
Then 2012 to 2015 is called the Golden Age. The industry saw rapid growth, with Exploding Kittens in 2015 raising $8.7 million, proving the power of crowdfunding.
Yeah, and one other thing that's going on here that is really worth mentioning, and Chronocore bringing this up rightly, is that our old model that we just discussed, where the publisher is involved from the very beginning and necessarily involved, that also means that almost necessarily the first touch point you might have with this game is a local retailer. So yes, this designer has an idea, goes to the publisher publishes it, sends it to distribution, sends it to retail.
Oh yeah.
And that becomes a real question mark for retail.
That was one of I remember the Relic Knights, a local Rick, had bought into it, had a ton of stuff, and really wanted to start a community. I was like, I mean, okay,
you can
start doing the thing. But at some point, it would kind of realize as a local retailer trying to find a way to break even.
Yeah.
The reality was like, well, anyone that is really into this, that backed it, like pre-bought the 3 years worth of content, like literally all the expansion for the first 3 years. So like, as a business, as a retail business, we have nothing to sell you for 3 years. If the game's even around in 3 years, I don't think it was. So like,
I think it was like instantly.
Yeah. So that is where it is. Like, I think by the industry, a lot of times there was a negative view of Kickstarter early on, because that exact thing is true. Like the status quo was getting upset, which was the only way to get it is through this pipeline. And suddenly that's not true anymore. And the internet existed before that, but
yeah, some direct sales and even convention sales and those kinds of things. But the scale of this is
a different
situation.
All right. Then the next phase, unmarked years, it looks like. It says the rise of FOMO and deluxe games.
Wow, look at you go, little AI bot.
Campaigns evolved from funding basic production to offering premium exclusive editions with massive amounts of miniatures, driving fear of missing out.
This is like, there's got to be a name for this, right? This is like the cycle of humanity.
I think it's the cycle of a platform or a company scaling. Like Facebook had the same thing. Twitter had the same thing. Where like, I mean, I guess the question is it that cycle? Because at the end of all this, are we going to get to a spot? Like right now, I was early on very much a Twitter advocate. Now I'm very
worked out for you.
Not, right? And like it slowly, there were pieces of it that remained for a long time, which is why I liked it. And I still liked it for a long time better than the other platforms. It was just the best of the worst, basically. Until it eventually just devolved completely.
Worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Is it true that this is just the case of platform gets successful, ergo more people get on it, ergo makes you sound smart if you ever want to say it.
Ergo.
It's Latin. Ergo,
don't you mean
we need different competitive advantages because there's a million games on it now, so how are we going to differentiate ourselves? Ergo, unique, one of a kind, special edition, only available now, can't miss out, last chance.
You basically start doing anything you can to claw it out, right? Because it gets very competitive. I think another really good example of this is the dollar menu, which I think was actually invented by Taco Bell.
Really?
So imagine fast food, there is no dollar menu. There's no value menu at all. Someone in one of these meetings is like, I have an idea. What if we had 3 really efficient items we could make quickly and at scale all the time, just have them always ready, and we only charge $1 for each of them. And then, like, this is just gonna, for anyone that is on a budget, like, this is obviously the option. Like, you go to this thing, so you launch it, it's crazy successful. Then McDonald's goes, hey, that's a good idea, so they start doing it. Okay, and then enough people start doing it that just having a value menu is not a competitive advantage anymore.
Right.
So then what happens? It's like, well, what if we charged 50 cents? Or whatever the thing is. But what ends up actually happening is those items, as inflation happens and as things get more competitive, slowly, to go lower in price, it's like you're reducing quality, you're reducing size, you have shrinkflation, until eventually the thing you're getting at the bottom of the barrel is like unrecognizable. Like I remember when I was a kid, the 5 for 5 from Arby's.
Dude, don't bring up
And
the 5 for 5
those
from Arby's.
those were like full
You're gonna
roast
make
beef
me
sandwiches.
cry.
But
It
go
was-
get a 5 for 5 now.
That could feed a family of 4, Zach.
It's crazy.
And it did.
It did, yeah. It
Janice Woolley going by Arby's
Yeah.
on her way home from Claremore.
So
5
good.
for 5, dude, bringing it home. Sometimes she'd get the beef and cheddars for a little upcharge, and oh my gosh, we would have such a good time for
Yeah.
$5.
did. I mean, that was a part of my childhood for sure. But
How do we even live anymore?
eventually, right? It's like it gets so competitive and people are so aggressively attacking it. It's like the only way to keep it at $1 and stay competitive. God forbid you go to $2.
Yeah, no, you
then you
gotta
just
put
lose.
sand in the meat.
So all of a
That's the
sudden
key.
it's like, what is this meat? You put like one little slice and the buns are getting really small and it's like the sauce isn't free anymore. But you kind of have that same inverse happening here where it's like, we got to put more in. It's got to be FOMO. It's got to be exclusive. It's got to be limited. It's got to be, and like you go harder and harder. So
Do you think, how much do you think at this point too, there was also the recognition that, wait a minute, people are catching on to the fact that they can just get this exact stuff after the campaign, so why back it here?
yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the exclusivity thing.
Yeah, that's exactly why
Like,
you would introduce that, right?
When I was talking about the Hub World campaign earlier, it's like, why back it now?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, because if enough people don't back it, it doesn't exist. So, but that is the original crowdfunding method or messaging to me. It's like, this only exists. You know, I have this very fancy glass that I want to make. That's awesome. It's the best thing you've ever had something to drink from, and keeps your beer perfectly tempered the whole time. Whatever. It is. I have this idea. I need $300,000 to manufacture it. Like, make this happen. I'll send you a cup. Is very different than Budweiser coming in and saying like, we've got this cup, perfect for Budweiser.
We've already made it.
We've already made it. We just want to know how many people actually want it.
Yeah.
So you launch the campaign. It's like, the only way to get this cup, we'll give you an exclusive thing, and it's got the logo on it, and it'll come with a Pokemon toy, and it'll be this thing, and then this exclusive card comes with it from this other thing, and like whatever. But yeah, I think that is
So that is directly related to competition.
So 2019 to present says market maturity and specialized platforms. The game section on Kickstarter grows to hundreds of millions in funding annually. Specialized competitors like GameFound emerge, focusing on dedicated tabletop audiences. So Kickstarter, of course, way bigger than just tabletop games, although it was the de facto kind of board game crowdfunding platform for a while.
And this is true. I've always heard this, and I think I've looked it up many times. But of all the things that were like, you could Kickstart anything, but board games, for whatever reason, became the biggest category by far on the platform.
I don't know that one.
That's true, right?
I can't verify.
Can somebody fact check me on that? Send your Claude
I
bots
feel like
after
that space game that got crowdfunded is like its own category. What was that thing?
No, the other one, Star Citizen.
Yeah.
That was kickstarted.
I think it was crowdfunded.
I think it's still being crowdfunded.
And then the last section, it's not really a time space. It says shift to professionalism. Modern campaigns are less about community prototypes and more about professional marketing, with many creators shifting to pre-launch and all-in strategies to manage rising manufacturing risks. And then the classic AI summary: impact on the industry. Independence creators can bring unique, niche, or high-risk ideas directly to consumers. Higher quality components. Crowdfunding encourages the production of deluxe games with excessive components. Direct engagements. Backers have a say in development through comments and stretch goals. Market testing. Successful campaigns serve as powerful PR and market validation, reducing risk.
I mean, this is really just a story of shifting risk onto the consumer, right? Am I being too cynical? Like basically in the old world, the world of cogs and marketing textbooks, right?
I went to school in that world, man.
Back when Zach and I were riding horses to university, you would have an idea and you would say, the market will love this idea. I'm going to take a risk as an entrepreneur. So I'm going to get capital, and I'm going to take that capital and I'm going to invest in manufacturing this thing, and I'm going to produce it, manufacture it, etc. And then I'm going to talk to distributors and get it on shelves. And then I'm going to see if the consumers buy the thing and validate the idea. And if that was a successful bet of mine, I become a successful entrepreneur. I launch a company. I make the money. Otherwise, my idea fails, my business folds. Maybe I declare bankruptcy, etc. But now what Kickstarter is doing, and what a lot of things are doing in these industries, is basically, hey, consumers, if you give us all of the money now, we will make the thing. And there is still some risk to you that we might not make the thing. But here's the idea. Do you want it conceptually? Yes, we do want it. We're going to send you $100 because we want it. And then you say, okay, well, I'll figure out how to make it. That is such a different world to be living in, Zach. Like, the profundity of that shift is not to be misunderstood. I mean, so consumers, for lack of to be overly clinical and academic, are winning in some ways, because I do think that Kickstarter and crowdfunding is opening up things that would otherwise never be risked. Right? So there are games and there are designers and there are things that exist now because crowdfunding is there, and they would never have existed beforehand because publisher A, B, C, and D thinks it's too risky, so things become stale. And so this is a good innovation in that way. It disrupts the key players and their ideas about what people want out of a board game. That's what Twilight Imperium did too, and that's why Christian was a successful publisher. But then it's also bad for buyers, because maybe 90% of the things that you're backing would have been made anyway, but they would have gone a more traditional route. You would have been able to see it on the shelves. You would have been able to see reviewers talk about it, all before you decide, is this worth spending the money on or not? So you're basically pushing that people are spending the money well before they actually have a finished product to review, look at, and decide whether or not they want it. And so and of course, that can end in big ways where they just don't even get the thing. So it's kind of a clever way that it's working in both of those directions. On the one hand, it is spurring still, I think, innovation that would not be there. On the other hand, like would the Earthborne board game happen without crowdfunding? Because you can't just come up with this is a big thing. It's hard to generate or find the person who's willing to give you, even a bank, $500,000 to $1 million for your board game idea.
Yep.
That's not a thing. So I don't know that it exist at all. But then at the same time, of the things that would exist, you're basically shouldering all the risk as the consumer now, and the business is saying, I take almost zero risk.
Well, and there are a lot of cases where a small company does a crowdfunding campaign and is wrong about their information, in which they take a lot of risk.
Yeah.
And either it ends the company before it starts, or it ends a company that has been going, and there's a lot of things.
I mean, we're running into a lot of these problems.
Mm-hmm.
You think your manufacturing is good. You think your factory knows what they're doing. But what if they don't?
Yeah.
And here you are.
Yeah. And there's risk being taken.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you get the money, and then hopefully you didn't sign on for anything that you're upside down on your situation. But yeah, you are shifting risk, and you're typically rewarding that, right? With either a discount or added components or exclusive things or whatever the case may be. Oftentimes crowdfunding campaigns deliver before it's available anywhere else. So you get your stuff early. And so on. And you also have the lack of allocation, as it were, where if you back it, you're getting it kind of vibe. I think about, there was a time when the first Earthborne fulfillment happened, and then we were selling it, and then we sold out. And it's well, if you want to guarantee you get it, back the second campaign, which, because you just don't know. And it's you're paying early, but you're getting it. So there's some upside there. So
that's true.
Reducing some amount of risk. But it is definitely evolving and has evolved. And in general, I think competition is good. And the ability for someone with an idea to use a platform like this to try to make something is a good thing to exist. But the thing that is fascinating to me is just that you have people like that using it, and also Fantasy Flight Games, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't have a hot take on it as much as it's just this is different.
Well, but okay, so why is that happening? And why is CMON building an entire brand around this? And why do we see a lot of the big players doing this kind of stuff? If you just look at it and you say, okay, so even if I'm Fantasy Flight Games, let's say I'm Fantasy Flight Games right now, I say, you know what? I've got an Asmodee portal web store or whatever. I'm going to put up a pre-order at a discounted price for Zombicide, whatever. And if we get, let's say 6,000 people to spend $100 on this pre-order, we'll make the game. And if we don't, we'll refund all their money. And there was a version of this. What was it? GMT? What was that? That company that did that, where they had a rolling thing where.
And once this many people order it, we'll produce it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the appropriate conclusion there is that you are going to get so many less people even know that Zombicide is doing this than if you just put it on Kickstarter. I think if we look at Earthborne games, if we put up a pre-order on Team Covenant right now for the Earthborne board game, versus them going and doing a crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. There's just so many more eyeballs on Kickstarter that the marketing value, the awareness value of that platform is now one of the major things that you're considering. So yes, you lose your 10%, but you gain all of the marketing power of that platform. If they did it on their own website, they'd get less. If they did it on ours, if they did. So it's just like there's not a platform that competes with Kickstarter in terms of just getting awareness on a project that you have out there in the world, right?
I think it has become a marketing and pre-order platform.
Mm-hmm.
That is mostly what it is. Even for a brand new publisher, that is essentially what it is. It's actually not give me $50 and I'm going to make my dreams come true. It's give me $50 and I will give you this cup.
Yeah.
It might be 2 years, and the risk is I won't actually be able to make the cup. But you think it's cool enough that you'll take the risk or buy the thing. I'll give you the discount. I'll give you a freebie, right? I'll give you this acorn as part of the pledge or whatever. And so the recognizing that is worth doing, right? Because I think I subconsciously or unconsciously, still kind of had a view on crowdfunding that was misaligned with what is reality at this point.
That's very big of you. It's not a thing that a lot of people will go through that journey, of realizing that they're misaligned.
I don't know. It's just the FFG campaigns what really spun me out.
Well, and Keyforge's been going Kickstarter. We had the altered Kickstarter, but not really Kickstarter because they said the number they needed is not the actual number that they needed. There's been a lot of weird stuff that I think has just got Kickstarter on the brain. So, question for you then: what does it mean for there to be this big direct sales pre-order platform that has tremendous marketing value above and beyond what I would say anyone else in the industry could provide, whether it an independent publisher, a big distributor like Asmodee, a Shut Up and Sit Down, like all of these things on their own are not at all as powerful marketing as your game being on Kickstarter or GameFound, maybe eventually or whatever.
What was the question about that?
What does that mean? Like, how does that shift?
Well,
why are we not kickstarting everything, right?
Well,
like,
okay.
Why do you not do that? Because that's what the conclusion should be.
And one of the really telling signs and why I think the FFG thing spun me out, besides them being part of a massive company, is Asmodee's distributor. And essentially, for a while, I think the case in the late 2010s from retailers who were upset about this exclusivity and this direct and it going outside of them and them, et cetera, was almost like, hey, there's two paths. You can go direct Kickstarter, crowdfunding, or you can go traditional distribution publishing. And if they're almost like separate entities, right? But one of the largest distributors and owner of multiple publishers that they distribute themselves has elected to go to crowdfunding to address the reality you just said. So that's like insert random distributor, right? ACD. Being like, hey, we're crowdfunding a game is what that's saying, right? Like suddenly, actually,
they don't own studios though, so it's even but it's even less crazy.
Yeah, but that's where it's like you're essentially just admitting that there is a ton of marketing value outside of your ability to basically sell games to stores as a distributor, which is a huge value proposition of distribution.
That is fascinating
in and of itself. As Asmodee, who is both a distributor and publisher, like massive publishers.
That is more fascinating than I thought it was.
Yeah, and it's like, wait a second, this is interesting that you would elect, like, why for Zombicide or for the Vault stuff, the old stuff, like, why are you not soliciting all your retailers' orders and basing your print run on that? Like, you have a whole ecosystem here for exactly this. Are you basically signaling that you don't believe in your own business?
That's fascinating. So you're saying that this kind of the bastion of the traditional model and basically you say Asmodee as a distributor is saying we provide a ton of marketing value and we get your game on store shelves, which is why you should pay the upcharge that we charge you to or the discount that you give us. So you sell your game to Asmodee or ACD or whatever for a lower price than you could sell it elsewhere, technically. And in reply, they get that game out to different stores and stuff, which has tremendous marketing value for you. But in this case, they're saying the marketing value of going to Kickstarter to crowdfund this thing is actually greater than what we could otherwise do without losing that 10%, 12%, et cetera, to the platform. But is it really just then not necessarily about the marketing value explicitly, but the risk? Because to run their model, they still have to do, because you're not going to get a bunch of retailers who pay a bunch of money up front for a game that isn't made.
No.
To Asmodee. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah. But that's essentially what they're saying. It's like, this is not worth soliciting retailers and just printing and having in stock. But if you're willing to pay us directly, and we know how many people are willing to pay, then we can make it.
And they could do direct too to players because they have the Asmodee web store.
They sure do. Yeah. So
is that what they're saying though? Is it? Are we over? Is the value of Kickstarter overblown in our minds of marketing? I think this is something that gets trotted out a lot. But this is a really good comment from Contel Martins, who's been sending a lot of great comments. If Kickstarter is such a great marketing tool, why do campaigns spend so much in paid media to get the attention on the Kickstarter? Is that a bit of a canary in the coal mine here?
So this goes weirdly, it ties me back to Dad-Driven Death, where it's like, I know there's attribution models and there's pixels and you can track things and you can do all this stuff. But like, at the end of the day, unless you scientifically split these apart into their own individual components, it's so hard to actually attribute. Where it's like, well, how much of the value was just because we were on Game Founder Kickstarter? And then how much of it was the campaign that we did? And in reality, I think it's a mixture of all of these components all at the same time, which is like a really appealing game / offer that is well marketed and promoted on a platform that incentivizes you to spend money and back it and maybe spend a lot of money. That is a direct sales channel with the highest margins you're going to have selling this game. Lets you do crazier things that are really going to do well on the platform. And if you reach success on the platform, right, you hit $2-3 million in funding, now you're on the front page of Kickstarter. And Kickstarter, compared to GameFound, has a massive audience that's not even just tabletop related. So now you might have reach that you just wouldn't have even come close. But, and you look at something like Cyberpunk, and it's like, they have a huge, it's a big IP, they probably have a huge marketing budget to market this thing in all the different places. And they're doing it on crowdfunding. And so, like, you don't know what's doing what exactly. And, like, if you had done just a pre-order on a website with the same amount of marketing, would you have sold just as much? I don't know. And you could have built your own little, like, as people buy it, the numbers ticking up, and you have your own stretch goals and doing your own thing. But that is, and I'm sure the Kickstarter people and the GameFound people do a lot of math to try to justify everything about their existence. What you can't deny is that Cyberpunk has raised $20+ million on a crowdfunding campaign. And so, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's overblown, but it's also, it kind of is like the TCG, like framing a game as a TCG because that's the language of the industry. Like, crowdfunding has somewhat become language of the industry level. And it's still, another piece of this is, there's like a few floating thoughts, but one of them is, I still think the percentage of revenue generated by tabletop games on an annual basis, even just board games, zoom into board games, on crowdfunding versus not crowdfunding is still very small.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Do we have the numbers? Who has those numbers?
I was there was a podcast I caught the other day. It was with I think it was the COO of GameFound was talking, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but the thing he was framing up was essentially like crowdfunding as a medium has grown like XYZ over the past decade, but still like the growth possible in their mind was massive because it's like we're still such a small part of the overall market.
Kind of like how e-commerce is still only like 13% last time I checked, or 12%
yeah, I
of
think
the
it's
economy.
in the teens at most. Most retail transactions still happening in person. And that goes to like Travis over at Millennium Games. I remember he was big on this for a while, which was just like, he's just like a really big upstate New York like retailer in the industry.
Yeah.
And his take on crowdfunding, when people were debating like, is crowdfunding good or bad for the industry, is like how much like he loved it. I remember one of our early panels we went to that he was in. He was just like, I love it because a lot of retailers are avoiding these games, and I'm crushing with these games. I'll just stock it after, because most people don't want to pay 2 years in advance for a maybe, but it's on the shelf and it's sitting right here and it sells. So there's a lot of components to that, but regardless of how much it would matter if it's A or B, it's like, are you willing to take the chance the other direction, or are you just going to do what people expect you to do?
Well, Thorgrim's comment here has made it all very simple. Which
Okay,
I think
please.
It's the easiest way to get an interest-free loan. That's it.
Yeah.
Is that not it? Is that not the whole game? You just get a bunch of money, you pay 0 interest, and then you go do a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no other way to easily do that.
Yeah. And to
a bank is not going to give you that.
Banks are, it's so crazy. That whole system, it's like basically the whole time you need money, they will not loan you anything.
That's right.
But if you're successful enough, they will loan you money. But I just said you are successful enough.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I don't really need that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I need it when I was short on cash, but
Right.
you won't loan me anything because I don't have any cash.
Does that feel similar to where crowdfunding is too? Where like if you're successful at crowdfunding and you're a successful publisher, then you're likely to get way more money through crowdfunding. And the little guys that actually need the cash to get off the ground are seen as now illegitimate and less likely to succeed.
Look at the most successful crowdfunding campaigns in the past 5 years, that's just true.
Is it?
Like,
have you done that?
Well, like,
are you just speaking it into the world?
No, I mean, like, look at Cyberpunk, right?
Yeah,
it's
big team. All these tech
Altered
people
was a massive team.
Massive team.
They started with
partnered
60,
with
70
Asmodee.
people.
Yeah.
Sorcery is kind of an exception.
It's kind of the exception.
But even then, it's like as compared to most publishers, like they had hundreds of pieces of hand painted art done before it launched.
Yeah.
And it's like that is not a normal.
Eric was kind of a known vintage magic like
it's just
mover
crazy,
and shaker guy too.
Yeah. But you look at like all the Cosmere RPG, which is from the Sanderson crew, and it's like, well, he's clearly doing okay and has a big brand and resources and a whole team. And you look at the even Exploding Kittens. It's like this is not like a pop up indie shop. You know what I mean? Like that was a brand, it was an IP with resources behind it, and they leveraged it super well. You look at Simon, and it's like they had a Song of Ice and Fire, and they have all these IPs, and they had this engine going, and all this money, and like versus how many truly independent small studios are having that sort of success, right?
Well, and so Elliot's got a good comment here. Elliot the Unknown. Kickstarter is great for funding games that wouldn't make it via the traditional route, but it also means the creator has to shoulder the burden of marketing the game. So which is true. Like, actually, if you just, there is some organic marketing value to being on Kickstarter and getting involved in like all the people that do the Kickstarter content and the Kickstarter roundups and what games do you not want to miss this week, and that there is an ecosystem there that does have marketing value. But you do still have to like have your social media accounts and go and do your print and plays and try to build organic interest at conventions and try to build a list and do paid ads.
But I don't think that's different whether or not you're doing crowdfunding, like, or how big you are.
Basically,
like,
crowdfunding isn't solving the marketing problem.
Yeah, you're still
generally
having to. You still have to convince players, retailers, and distributors to carry and sell and support your game. Either way, and distributors don't want to do it until retailers want to do it, and retailers don't want to do it until players want to do it.
But then players just go to the Kickstarter, and then they don't need the retailer to do it.
Thesis. And that brings me back. I don't want to lose it. I've had it a few times back in my mind, and then we carried on with other things. But you're asking why aren't all games going through this? And so there's a reason for that. And I think you see this essentially in the tail end of Altered. I think you see it with Keyforge. I think Power Rangers is the best example for us, which is the original expectation was they were going to crowdfund the initial thing. And then the expansions after that would just go normal retail. And so we would buy from them. We would sell it like normal and do our thing. But you end up in this kind of weird cycle. Keyforge had a similar thing going on. After the first one, they're like, well, that went really well. We should probably do that again.
Yeah, because you get the loan money.
Yeah, so then they're like, okay, they did crowdfund the second thing. But there is an energy difference between new release announced, excitement, here it is, it's released, and continually crowdfunding. And crowdfunding has a cycle. If you haven't hit print before you do the crowdfunding, even if you're ready to go as soon as it's over, you're probably 3 to 6 months out from it delivering. And so if you're an expandable game, especially, that, like if you do your second crowdfunding before the first one is delivered, it is way less exciting and appealing. And so, you have a game like Keyforge currently, I think they're doing about 2 sets a year. Just enough time to kind of do this thing. And again, it's less for board games, and I think most board games do have crowdfunding campaigns. But with expandable games, you have this cycle, and then also if you care at all about local retail support, it is really a lot harder for them if you are constantly selling directly to players in this method and incentivizing it. And it's like, well, why would I not buy this? I get the promos, I get the bonus stuff, I get the discount, I get it first. It's before the retail release. And so it's like an incentives reality, but there is a downside in that campaigns take time to run. You do have to promote them and market them in a different way. You have to communicate with your backers all along the way. The expectations from the community about involvement or opinions or getting information or updates is way heavier than if your sorcery saying we're going to ship a set every year. Like it's a lot of energy if they were trying to crowdfund their set every year. That is very different than just, all right, here comes the next thing.
Is it fair to say, do you think, that board games don't need to care about retailers when they're doing crowdfunding and early pre-orders and early delivery, that it doesn't really make a difference? That basically, if you have a hot board game, let's say Earthborne, the board game, Trailblazer, goes millions of dollars on Kickstarter. My lips to God's ears, I'm sure, Andrew. I don't think retailers are like, oh, because it is so big on crowdfunding, I'm not going to buy it if it comes to distribution. They'll just be like, oh, it's a hot board game. Cool. Yeah. Whenever I can buy it, I'll buy it. So like they don't have to care about that. But the expandable games seemingly do have to care about it.
Well, I think it's because board games, first of all, massive market. The number of people buying board games. And board games are more like an open relationship. Compared to an expandable game. Expandable game, most people have like a game. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah. We have a monogamous situation.
Yeah. But really,
and like when you're 6 games.
When you're a sorcery player, you're a sorcery player. Yeah. And so it's not really a question of whether you're buying the next sorcery thing. It's maybe a question of how much. But if one way to guarantee you get it and to get a discount, maybe get promos and to get A, B, and C is like to back this campaign. That's very appealing to do every time.
You just do that every time. Yeah.
Whereas board games, it's like just totally different.
It's
form
true.
Factor.
But also, if you look at Cyberpunk, right, it's 26 million apparently.
What have we been doing?
So, but the retail stores, there's not going to be an LGS that says, oh, because there were so many people that backed the Cyberpunk Kickstarter, I shouldn't stock this game, right?
No, but I think if they were crowdfunding every time, the math is a lot different.
Because then like all the new players that come along and that get involved, you don't get the benefit of set 2 sales. But you still would though, right? Because it'd be on the shelf. Didn't we talk about how people like to buy retail and they like to go to physical transactions?
I think maybe this is a better way of spinning this out. I'm following you to a degree, but I think there's a way of spinning this out, which is I think for like the Netrunner LCG, that 75 to 95% of purchases happen within a week of release. I think with board games, that is not even close to true. I think that people are still buying Gloomhaven today.
Yeah, 100%. And they're still buying the train game.
Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, but whichever one you want to choose,
etc. But that is not normal. That is not nearly as normal. And there's some amount of long tail and new people getting in. But by like set 5 of a game, most of the time, 90% of the people that are going to buy it are going to buy it.
You think that's true for a TCG as well?
Yeah.
90% of sales in the first week of release.
I think it's a lot of them. And it depends on the model. Like Sorcery is a really interesting one where uniques and like how many, it's like a longer, slower
once a year experience. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say for the most part, like Magic and Pokemon probably are living this exactly, which is first 2 to 4 weeks is a lot of sales. And then it might keep selling after that, but by that time, that's like product gets consumed, it disappears in a secondary market after that point. But as compared to board games as a percentage, I think it's way less early on, and they're more conservative. But also, when you're just buying a $75 game, you might do that once or twice a month. And so you kind of stroll into the store and you're looking around and this vibe looks
what do you have new this week?
Yeah, what are people liking? What do your friend like? And that kind of stuff.
It is a different one.
So it's also, again, a board game is like the expectation is not you're going to have a new thing 4 months from now. But if you were trying to crowdfund a game that had a set every 4 months, it would be basically impossible actually to produce, deliver, ship before you did your next campaign.
And these campaigns are a lot of work.
For sure.
There's a lot of work that goes into these. So then is the conclusion here then for me, so we've the end of crowdfunding being the topic here. So we've gone from small designer with an idea, getting a decent amount of visibility and opportunity to produce something, to now basically small designer with an idea, getting lost in the noise of 16,000 campaigns going on Kickstarter. And in order to separate yourself from all the noise that's currently on Kickstarter, GameFound, etc., you need to invest a lot of marketing money to get yourself the visibility on those campaigns. Ergo, the people with all of the money and the success are going to be more successful on Kickstarter than those who don't have that. It's very similar to your bank example. Whenever you have the success, you get more success. Mm-hmm. But whenever you don't have the success, it's hard to get discovered, but still possible.
Yep.
But that is now a new ecosystem that we're living in. Why would you choose any path aside from crowdfunding if you're going to launch a board game? What other path is even conceivable in it being?
I think other paths you would choose. You already have money.
But why then still would you not just get a free loan?
If you just don't want to mess with it.
Just don't want to mess with it.
You literally have the money. You know you want to make it. Or like you're a big publisher. You know you're going to make it. You have this whole ecosystem set up. You just print it, deliver it, ship it, sell it, off to the races. Like, I don't know if he's still not doing it. I don't think he is. But you look at like Stonemeyer. Mm-hmm. And he's in a completely different space. Where he's actually built enough momentum. I think he almost has like a floor on how many he's going to sell no matter what happens. Mm-hmm. But there's a ton of energy and effort that goes into crowdfunding, and he's sort of built his own little brand and ecosystem where he maybe doesn't need it. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is just is this how you want to operate? And do you want to do once or twice a month crowdfunding updates while you haven't fulfilled? And do you want to take the risk of taking people's money before you know exactly how much it's going to cost or what's going to happen?
Or like random tariffs happen,
or et cetera, the other. So like there are downsides to it, but I think in general, it's almost like this. There was a time in American history where it was normal.
I'll get my rocking chair.
Well, hey, you what's the word you keep using?
Ergo.
There was a time in American history where it was normal to buy a house and pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, well, what if actually you could pay for it across the next 10 years? Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, now more people can buy houses because previously people that couldn't save up enough money to buy a house could just buy it. But you have the income to do the thing, mm-hmm. you know? And it's like, well, what if you had a 20-year note? Mm-hmm. What if you had a 30-year note? Suddenly you can afford it. And what that does is tons more people can buy a house, which is cool, mm-hmm. but also makes the market go crazy because demand just went through the roof. And you can only build houses so fast, and houses also wear down and all that kind of stuff, especially in America. And so you have this whole like thing, and I think that is the number of games coming out has increased partially because these platforms exist.
You're saying that basically it's one of these technologies, which there are plenty of in the last 20 years, that are dramatically lowering the barrier of entry and at least outwardly democratizing the process away from the existing gatekeepers and kind of the traditional systems and into the hands of the people.
And even in a democratized system, though, people with a brand, with reach, with money and resources and skills and experience are still more likely to win mm-hmm. than the small indie rebellion. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, at least they have a chance to do it, the small people. But the more the tool warps to serve the big entities and the success, because if I'm Kickstarter / GameFound, yeah, I want the $30-40 million Cyberpunk crowdfunding campaign. I would love to have that, and everyone talking about it and coming mm-hmm. up on random podcasts from two yahoos from Tulsa talking about it all the way through, right? Same with I want the Cosme RPG, and I want Brandon Sanderson's next 12 books. He's going to surprise drop, and like he wrote last month, and like you do want all those things, but again, as a brand or a product or a service, like is it for Brandon Sanderson? Or is it for the unknown author who's never published a book? And I think what you end up doing and the way you market and the kind of people that are paying attention to your platform are very different depending on which answer that is.
Yeah.
And I don't really have stakes in that game, so to speak. But at the end of the day, I think it makes sense to me that the shift will continue that direction where the primary, it's the same distro problem, right? Would you rather serve 5 retailers that are buying all of your product or 5,000 retailers that are buying all the product? Like, it's much easier to serve the 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you incentivize volume. You want less people being successful, but being more successful because they're buying more from you and are having to deal with less clients. And the bigger they are, the less problems they're going to have because they have cash, they have resources. If you give them terms, they're not going to be late on payments. They're going to buy more at one time. They're like the whole thing, right? So similar here. And so it's cool if you're serving those people and you're still making it possible for the new publisher or the new creator to get in sometimes. But also, I think it will get harder and harder. And it's already been harder and harder. There's so much noise now compared to a decade ago or 20 years ago. I remember when we opened 1.0 in 2012, there were few enough Kickstarters for board games that the people in our community keeping up with it could keep up with it.
Like, here are the 2 this week.
I'm pretty sure Matt Garrett, who's one of the early locals, bought every Kickstarter game for a couple years. Because it was possible for like a normal person to actually do that and afford to do that, right? And that's nowhere near possible now. I think it's thousands of games hitting crowdfunding every year.
Okay, so last thing, and I want to ask a great commentary going on in the live chat. There's a Game Crafter 2s and alternatives are much smaller, and maybe this is where small publishers are going, doing very small print, says Ryan Magala. So where is the future then? So maybe I can break off the early era and say it was the kind of thing where you had smaller creators, less of them, less noise. So probably the marketing value was actually a little higher in the transitionary period there as the platform was growing, but before all the big players got involved.
That's normal.
Classic, right? So then you have big players and stuff getting involved, and that has begun and kind of concluded maybe the shift to this is a pre-order platform, often with exclusives, to incentivize people to give you money now for a product that you have not yet made or that you have not yet committed to. And it also has some marketing value, even though now, because there's so much noise, the marketing value of the platform itself is less and less and less. So you have to spend more and more and more to get noticed. Feels very much like early Facebook ads, right? Used to be 5 cents. Oh my gosh, it's so incredible. And now more and more people realized it was a good deal. And so it becomes a less good deal over time. So we're experiencing that side of crowdfunding now. What about the next 10? What happens in the next 10 years of crowdfunding? What do you guys think out there? How does this next era of Kickstarter go? So we've got Trailblazer from Earthborne. I got the preview page up. It's going live at some point. Did they say when it's going live?
Yes.
May
26th.
So it's going live May 26th. We'll keep our eyes on that. We'll be very interested in how that goes. And it will be exactly what we've been talking about. It'll be a lot of people basically pre-ordering that game. If enough of them do it, it will get made, and then they will get that game delivered to them once it's produced. Beautiful. The system works. Probably wouldn't have gotten created without this platform existing. Or it would have been Andrew still at Fantasy Flight Games pitching this design to somebody and basically
or pitching
saying,
to a different publisher.
We're going through traditional.
It is worth it. So again, Andrew's going to be on next week.
I want to ask him these questions.
I was going to say, if you're out there listening, audio version or watching us here on YouTube, once we're not live, if you leave a comment on the YouTube video and or in our industry discussion channel over on the Discord, we'll try to capture the ones that make sense to ask and then ask him next week. I think there's a lot of questions brought up here that would be good to get his take on as someone who's engaging in the platforms and in the whole crowdfunding process. But, I think just kind of thinking about the future, I know 4 or 5 years ago when we saw the MetaZoo crowdfunding insanity, when that really took off, and late 2020, Fab was blowing up, Magic was blowing up, Pokemon was blowing up. And into 2021, the conversation / prediction was like, okay, there's going to be a lot of indies in the next year or two that try to do a card game, and then the big games are going to start showing up because the big corporations are going to take a little longer. And I think we were right.
You did it.
But I think one thing that's about to happen is Cyberpunk has shown the reality of what is possible in this space. And I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have a lot more of that. I think it's going to be big IP, polished marketing, very collectible setup in terms of the crowdfunding.
So like a lot of like FOMO stuff, right?
I think
that's not going anywhere.
We saw the ones that hit a couple years ago were like Star Wars Unlimited, Disney Lorcana. These were kind of traditional publishers. after you see TCGs kind of going crazy, it's really easy to make the case like, hey, we have FFG, we have a Star Wars license, let us make a collectible game. This is obvious like thing that we can do. Same with Disney Lorcana. I think if you pull up a list of like 20, 30 biggest IPs in the world, make a list of the ones that don't have a TCG. My expectation is 20 out of the 30 top brands, whatever that list would show, will either have a set in Magic the Gathering in one of their universal games.
That's an easy putt there.
Or
they about to put a fishing net across the world.
We'll make an attempt at a TCG.
Yeah.
And a lot of those will actually be crowdfunding. Because I think Cyberpunk is showcasing, like, it's the first bigger IP crowdfunding.
And it's a tiny IP.
And it is tiny. Yeah. Compared to.
But even so.
Yeah. Like if I'll pull it up in a second just to look through the list and shout out. Like, yeah. Anyway.
What if Cyberpunk was Marvel?
Well, no, exactly.
Is it 100 million?
And like between Sanderson and Cyberpunk, it's like it's kind of normal.
That should be the name of the episode.
Sanderson and Cyberpunk.
Between Sanderson and Cyberpunk.
But really, so I think in the near immediate future, the next 2 to 4 years, I don't think whatever this second golden era of TCGs is, I think it's still going to get messy and busy and bloody, and it's going to be tough. And then the big question for me is there going to be, there's the TCG space and then there's just the crowdfunding board game space. But like, I think a lot of the growth in the space and the number of games coming out was counterbalanced by just growth in tabletop gaming. People discovering board gaming, building board game walls of 100 games, etc. I think there is a lot of people hit that 100, 200 game plateau and to get a little more choosy with what they're doing.
Absolutely true.
So I'm expecting there will be some real potential heartbreak stories of campaigns that didn't end up getting delivered, or companies like CMON run into trouble because they're like stringing these campaigns together and paying for campaign B with campaign C.
And like what people used to pay for in the past, they're less likely or less willing to pay for now.
Yeah.
Basically, like you just can't do your 200 minis Kickstarter and expect to get $5 million anymore.
Yeah. Because like once you've done 3 of those, like you eventually run out of people who will do that for one reason or another. So my optimistic hope is that they remain platforms for people without resources to bring their games to market that they're very passionate about, and they can be very successful. And that we'll see less FOMO based campaigns because people are kind of getting over that. And it's like the internet being introduced. Bring my mother up one more time for this week's show. I got to get my Kathy reference.
Kathy, how are you?
It's like their inability to be prepared for the technological shift that's happening. So this happened, this crowdfunding thing, and all this stuff was happening on the ground. And as players of these games and customers buying them, the first 1 to 6 times that you buy these kind of games, it's like, okay, and a lot of them probably great games delivering value and like tons of miniatures and cool and whatever. But like you start learning in the same way that I can just watch a video and be like, that's probably fake. Like, or this is probably a scam. Like this text that I just got about my Pike Pass.
Yeah, your Pike
toll
Pass.
thing,
Dude, you're
like,
getting those, yeah?
Yeah, of course. And it's like, okay.
Gov.xyz.
Yeah, it's like, and so like the hope would be that and I don't know, like there's a pessimistic part of me that sees like TikTok being really successful. It's like, I don't know if you can beat human psychology, like just very primitive discovery, want value, want thing appeal, and want to be a part of something bigger than yourself, right? I think that's part of the crowdfunding thing, is like it's a very public, I'm a part of this thing, right? And it is still a little bit framed like I was there in the early days and I got the crowdfunding backers serialized number A, B, C, D, E.
It's not a number, but yeah.
Yeah, you get the
alphabet.
Yeah. Serialized is number.
Yeah, but A, B, C, D, E are
yeah.
not the best example.
Whatever. Anyways, point of it is, I don't think the engines will stop. I just think that it will get harder and harder to be successful. And I think you have to be really clear on what you're making, why you're making it, who you're making it for, and just really know that going in to even have a chance. And to be fair, I think the kind of games you could have kickstarted a decade ago and been successful wouldn't even come remotely close to being successful today, because expectations have risen so hard far, and people are being that selective.
I'll give you an optimistic view as well, and I think this is an analogy that will work. This is what gives me hope, which is almost nothing these days. But what gives me hope, Zach, is that the human brain loves like easy calories, sugar, right?
Yep.
So when even when I was like a child, I was eating like Little Debbie's and cakes and stuff. Mom was just sugar, right? Because it was what we would eat and we were excited about it.
Yeah.
And so we ate a ton of sugar growing up, right? But over time, yeah, you get exposed to sugar, and you yes, the human body craves this, and it is truly a thing that is almost unstoppable. However, we've been able to say like, yeah, we recognize that we want this, and like, this is a part of our psychology and our biology, but it's not great for us to do it.
Yeah.
And so we stop doing it. And so like, sugar consumption is not, even though it's readily available at all times and the human brain craves it, we're not eating it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is the ability for us to basically have exposure to something and then be like, that's not good for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've been exposed to the FOMO world in a way that like hunter-gatherers are starting to like just like freebase sugar. That like for the first time it's readily available, and like NFTs hit, and all of the pandemic stuff hit, and all the TCGs hit, and all the gambling, sports betting hits, and all of this stuff is hitting at the same time, and just like exploitation of human psychology. All the social media platforms turn to absolute garbage, doing the same things. Seems to me like it's all in this of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is likely. No, I don't think it's likely. I think it is possible that over the next 10 years, we may well see a pulling away from that and a recognition that this is not good. This is not what we want. It is still available, but we're saying no to it. And if we get there, then I think, for the crowdfunding version of this, we will see more like projects that are just kind of like what Andrew's doing, right? I need $500,000 to make this game and produce it. I'm really passionate about it. I think it's going to be wonderful. I have a design team that's great. And if you guys are into it, I'm into it. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
That may be a lot more of what we see. And even though it might not be all of your audience, it might be enough of an audience on crowdfunding and just in the industry in general that we're looking for that kind of experience and relationship with a publisher again. And there's less people looking for the cyberpunk, Smash Brothers, TCG, etc. kind of stuff. And that stuff will still go and exist, right? There's no way. There's still bakeries and places to go eat pie, right? But I'm just hopeful that it doesn't consume everything in the pursuit, that it doesn't just become a platform of $500 million TCG Kickstarters and there's no room for the smaller ones.
Yeah. Well, I think, one thing that's kind of interesting about that analogy with the sugar, that was really good. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thanks.
Is fascinatingly, what we're kind of actually talking about here is consumerism, because backing Kickstarters or crowdfunding campaigns with a lot of stuff in it is actually not the same thing as consuming sugar.
Yeah, that's true.
But because, and I kind of made this point with Cyberpunk, which is like, if Cyberpunk as a brand and with a successful crowdfunding campaign, if 2% of the people participating in that game are people that would have never touched a tabletop game before this, that is still so much better than doom scrolling on Instagram, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, like, back that campaign, make it crazy, like, and
grow the industry.
Yeah,
right?
and just there is which is a whole separate thing, like the gambling / collectability / the dopamine centers there, and that's the whole thing. But if the net outcome is like more people get into tabletop gaming, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're
the Starbucks.
Completely correct. Yeah, in the and there's signs of this being true. And to me, Sorcery is like one of the biggest ones, which is this is as far as collectible games go, one of the like least FOMO games possible. We're gonna do one set a year. It's all gonna be hand painted. Uniques are the way uniques work. And like you go down the list, and their success on crowdfunding and then their success post crowdfunding, to me, is a sign that there's a growing number of people who do want something that is not the FOMO driven 3 columns of miniatures games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is actually just the natural outcome of of the experience. And maybe the thing that got you in was you're really into Cyberpunk and there was this cool $700 pledge level, you know, and you've never played a card game, but your favorite character was the serialized version, and you did the thing, and then you played it, and you know, you do that for 2 or 3 years, and then that game goes away, and then you get into the next thing and do the next thing, and at some point you're like, I'm kind of tired of this like cycle. And maybe you spin over to just board games, and you have your 5 that you play with your friends or whatever. But like, point of it is, if more people are getting involved in tabletop gaming compared to other things they could be doing, it's not that bad. The travesty to me would be if the people doing less FOMO driven massive IP big things, like the ones in my mind, very original art, very original IPs, innovative game mechanics, etc.
It's like Earthborne games to a T.
Yeah, if they're getting crowded out and can't succeed, but I don't even think that's true at all. I think the more people that are spun up into, you know, it's almost like less people are not going to watch Blade Runner 2049 because the Captain America movie exists. In fact, more people might because there's a trailer on the Captain America movie for Blade Runner 2049, and they're in the habit of seeing movies or watching Netflix or whatever it is. And the same thing would be true with like books, I assume, right? Where it's like, okay, you know, you read, I don't even know what the Marvel equivalent of in a book world would be right now, but it's like, at least you're reading.
But don't you think it is kind of true that if there's 3 board games coming out during a campaign, I probably can only back one of them?
For sure.
So like there is also at the same time, maybe the long growth of this is ultimately positive, but in the moment, if I'm, for instance, an Earthborne Games or a Plaid Hat Games or whatever, and I've got Cyberpunk money that is competing with me for Facebook ads to board gamers, I'm having a harder time. And that's going to continue to be the case if I'm also competing with Super Smash Brothers TCG.
Yeah, but that's where it's like, I don't know that that's actually true.
Yeah, that's what I'm questioning.
Like, it might be. And there's
we know
definitely
the advertising would be more expensive if a lot of people are spending money trying to target the same people.
But
right?
like, I don't know. Like, if you go back to Exploding Kittens in 2015, I don't know that being successful had any impact on Earthborne Rangers existing in 2021 and that being successful. And if it did have an impact, I don't know that it was negative. But if it became, and that's where like when you have FFG crowdfunding and the Cyberpunk TCG crowdfunding, and you have, once that, I'm telling you, that bell has been rung. Give it 3 years. Well, mark me on this one. I pulled up brands, by the way, as an example. It's like, we don't have anything to do with Batman right now. As far as I know, Call of Duty, also nothing. Transformers hit and miss with Wizards of the Coast. Cars, Looney Tunes,
wow.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We already saw that with SpongeBob SquarePants. This is the magic list.
Yeah, dude, that's the calls they're making.
Yeah, Paw Patrol, Toy Story. Just trying to find Warcraft.
See, you're
dude.
I know. Yeah, that's happening, right? It has to be happening.
World of Warcraft, or what? Like
just Warcraft, the trading card game again. And it could be the same or it could be different. It doesn't matter.
$100 million campaign.
More than that.
It would be
200.
Banana Town.
250.
Like,
maybe.
in fact, if you're out there and you own that, I'm just kidding.
Can Blizzard is in a whole different.
That's what I mean, though. So okay,
Warcraft, Star Trek. Why are we not on Star Trek? Where is Star Trek in the conversation? Why is nobody making that game? It's crazy. So what you're actually predicting is that these platforms are going to start to be driven by giant millions and millions of dollars TCG campaigns with IPs attached.
Well, let me tell you this.
That's what you're telling me.
Let me ask you this. Let's say you are coming up with a strategy as GameFound, right? So let's have a little thought experiment. What time is it? Do we have time for this?
Yeah, we got 5 minutes probably.
Okay. So thought experiment, and maybe this is a future episode. This would be a fun episode, actually. So you have Kickstarter, who started it all. Preeminent, they're doing their thing, and they kind of both backed into Kickstarter didn't have a pledge manager. I think GameFound was a pledge manager. Then GameFound had a platform for backing, and then Kickstarter built a pledge manager and this whole thing.
Yeah.
But if you were GameFound and you're saying, how do we grow? How do we actually go from, I don't know, $200 million in funding last year to $300 million? And you were presented a choice. Do you want to work with 5 companies who have massive IPs and they're doing TCGs? Or would you like to work with 1,500 different 3-person studios making board games? Which one do you do? The first one. Which one can you even feasibly do?
Stepping outside of my own interest in tier 2 everything, I would do the first one.
Yeah, but that's also where, like, I don't think GameFound is going to an IP holder and saying, hey, like, make something.
But they could.
But I don't think they have to.
Mm-hmm.
I think again, Cyberpunk, $30 million. The bell has been rung. The money is moving. The spreadsheets are talking. And the people making those decisions at those tables, like if you have an IP and you don't have a TCG and your IC is you get down to the 200th on the list and you look and you don't have a TCG with what Magic is doing right now and Pokemon's crazy. And the whole grading system and it's nuts. And then you see this, it's just happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like big prediction.
What if? Okay, here's another big prediction. What if Kickstarter and/or GameFound had an in-house brand?
Or they have, you mean like a private label almost?
So if I'm Kickstarter right now, I'm like, all right, Cyberpunk 26 million, cool. I'm gonna go talk to a couple of IP holders or whatever, and basically say, hey, I'll give you $2 million to let me license your game out on a TCG or whatever. And then you hire a couple of designers, you spin up a little company, LLC or whatever. You design this game, you put it on Kickstarter, it does 20 million, and you keep the whole pot.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I mean, and the thing is, like...
And you can tweak the things. You can put it on the front page, you can...
Well, and unless you're a public company, very little needs to be revealed.
Wow.
About that, right? Like you can start a company, you can connect the dots, you have the whole platform, you have all these users on it. I mean, that would be a crazy move if it actually... And that it could already be happening, first of all. But second of all, it could still yet to happen, right? Like you're like, hey, anyways, you're already talking with all the people that are making these games too. Mm-hmm. So like, of course, you have some, there's a lot of
you have a massive audience, wow, that you own, and you, ethics aside, could contact everybody who's ever backed a board game on your platform.
Oh yeah. You would. And
you could definitely advertise to them.
I mean, right now, if a random person comes up to GameFound and launches a campaign...
Oh, no.
Like, you can pay GameFound to market, and also they can email their whole list and put you on their front page already. So, yes, they could do that.
Here comes Kirkland brand TCG, man.
But the thing about it, you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Because it's just...
Could be Cyberpunk.
Who knows? I'm not getting it, but I mean, actually,
I guess it could be.
It could be, but it's just the point is, even without that, I think the bell has been rung, and it's going to just keep happening, and that will either, to go a step further, that will either make it very difficult to make a card game in the industry and be successful, and there will be, it's like the 90s where games just are constantly pulling players from each other, or optimism version. Hopefully, a lot of new people get into space that wouldn't have ever even thought about getting into space. Like, my hope is that Cyberpunk brought a lot of people in from video games that aren't. It's not like a zero-sum game that's just taking players away from other games. But either way, there's going to be a lot of competition. And it's going to keep... I mean, I think we're on a 10-year TCG era of, like, Magic Pokemon aren't going anywhere. They're going to be fiercely competitive. Even the next layer, which is the, like... Babs and Lorcanas, etc. Competitive. SWU. And so it technically it's like the Shark Tank thing where someone is you always know that this is not the person to bet on, by the way. But when they're like, oh, if we just capture 1% of the market, we will make this much money. Because if the market is big enough for that number of 1% to be big, it is fiercely competitive. It's like if you capture 1% of the fast food market, you'll be a billionaire.
Yeah.
It's like true, but you're going to have to compete against all of the fast food companies, which is intense. So anyways, I think there'll be a lot of competition. I hope it results in a lot of growth. And this is just TCG focus. We're kind of pivoting from board games to that. But even board games, I think there's a saturation level. And I hope that it can keep growing the way it's been growing for the past 10 to 15 years. But you have to think at some point, just like in the housing market with the loans and stuff, like the growth eventually stops because only so many people can afford to do this. And you eventually, the cat catches the tail. What happens then? I don't know.
Then it's quality. Quality wins.
Hopefully then quality is what wins.
Quality wins.
Yeah, but that's where you see Starbucks, good example. Local coffee shops, to me, are way higher quality. And they are everywhere, and there's a lot of them, and a lot of them can be successful, and it's not centralized, and it's not corporate, and there are some other corporate chains, but like the number of independent coffee shops and coffee roasters that exist and are successful today is massive.
But it's only because of Starbucks.
Only is a big word, but I think it was helped. I actually think they paved the
almost
way for sure.
exclusively, yeah. Because like we talk about often, nobody knew what a mocha latte was in the 80s.
$5 for a coffee,
Yeah,
insane.
Yeah.
It's 40 cents in a styrofoam cup,
mm-hmm.
right? Like in America, at least.
So here's the last thing that I'll say. Raphael saying, I think the brand risk associated with that level of conflict of interest might greatly disincentivize that behavior. What's so weird about that is we see that all over the place, though, where that conflict of interest exists, and yet it still remains. I mean, like, Amazon just straight up rips off successful things on their platform and has them manufactured for cheaper and sells them under a Chinese brand name on their website. But people still sell their products on Amazon because the marketplace is so good. It's too big to ignore. Happens at grocery stores all the time. Their in-house brand is there competing with the brands that they're trying to market, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the Whole Foods milk. Here's the, sacred cow milk right next to it.
Here's the Lucky Charms, and here's the something mateys.
Yeah, exactly. That happens all of the time. So I don't know why it wouldn't happen here. But I think one positive here is that crowdfunding, I believe, at this point has reached a level of cultural significance and understanding that you can now maybe see some crowdfunding as a concept not being exclusive to Kickstarter GameFound. Mm-hmm. So you might see brands now saying, we're crowdfunding our next board game on our website. And I think there's enough people that would know inherently what that means that it could be successful. Whereas I think if you did that 10 years ago and said, we're crowdfunding this on our platform, aside from the GMT 500, which is a whole vibe, people would be like, what does that even mean? You want money now, and there's and I'm supposed to reach a certain amount before the game gets made. I think it's ubiquitous enough that you could actually pull it off as a big enough publisher without using the platform. The question is, I think Kickstarter's got themselves in a good situation because 10% is pretty tantalizing to not have to do it yourself.
Yep.
So will it happen? I don't know. How big is that 10%? That's the question.
Don't forget, head to industry discussion on the Discord. Leave questions if you want us to ask Andrew/Steven to ask Andrew anything specifically next week. We'll see what we can get out of him about this Trailblazer game when we're live. And then if you're listening to this back, you can do the same. Or you can also leave a comment on the YouTube video after we're done.
That was fun. So crowdfunding went from one thing, and it is now... It's now a short... No, it's not even a short term. It's an interest-free loan with some marketing value.
Marketing platform, pre-order platform, loan platform.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week with Andrew, and we may have some published videos coming up on the horizon, so we hope you join us for those as well. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.